We're live.
Hello, this is George.
And Bonnie.
And this is my sanctuary of class.
Say that again. Wait a minute. Beep, beep. Okay.
Okay, we ready?
I think so.
No, we're not. This is Adonai's Sanctuary of Truth classroom. It's not.
Keep going. It'll catch up.
To us, we're going to go over Shemot 4, or Exodus 4. To us, Moses is being more realistic than scared in Exodus 4:1. My sweetie's going to read 4:1.
Moses replied, "But I'm certain they won't believe me, and they won't listen to what I say, because they'll say, Adonai did not appear to you."
Why would they believe me?
Good question.
Why would they listen to me? Yeah, right, Adonai appeared to you. Okay, Adonai, how do I show them you did? Read 4:2 and 3, please.
Adonai answered him, "What is that in your hand?" He said, "A staff." He said, "Throw it to the ground." And he threw it to the ground. It turned into a snake, and Moses recoiled from it. That's what I would do.
Throw that staff on the ground. Can you imagine what must have been going through Moses' brain by now? I'm shoeless, and you want me to throw my stick on the ground. Okay, here goes. And you know that Moses had no idea what was going to happen. We like how one version put it. He ran from it. I don't know if he did or not, but that's one version. Then when Moses was still in shock, Adonai says, well, read verse 4, please.
Then Adonai said to Moses, "Put your hand out and take it by the tail." He reached out with his hand and took hold of it, and it became a staff in his hand.
Take a hold of the snake's tail. I just met you, Adonai, and you want me to take a hold of this snake's tail? Was he thinking, I don't like snakes? But like she read, he did it, and it became his staff again. What would happen in this day and age if they told him to do that? They'd go, wow! Read chapter 4, verse 5, please.
This is so that they will believe that Adonai, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you.
This is to show the Hebrews that Adonai, the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov, has appeared to you, Moses. It kind of seemed like Adonai must convince Moses as well as the rest of the children of Israel. Sweetie, read 6 through 8, please.
Furthermore, Adonai said to him, "Now put your hand inside your coat." He put his hand in his coat, and when he took it out, his hand was leprous, as white as snow. Then God said, "Now put your hand back in your coat." He put his hand back in his coat, and when he took it out, it was as healthy as the rest of his body. If they won't believe you or heed the evidence of the first sign, they will be convinced by the second.
Put my hand under my coat. My stick became a snake. I wonder what's going to happen now. Okay, Adonai, he pulled it out, and it's white as snow with leprosy. Now put your hand back under your coat. Do you think Moses was thinking, restore it? I know you can. I know you can. Whew. I had no doubt. That's what's interesting when you stop and think about it. When you hear those so-called Christians say, well, I knew God would do this, but they were worried about it the whole time, how can I say I had no doubt? Anyway, that's free. If they still have doubts, read 9, please.
But if they aren't persuaded even by both these signs and still won't listen to what you say, then take some water from the river and pour it on the ground. The water you take from the river will turn into blood on the dry land.
Water from the river, pour it on the ground, it will turn to blood. Adonai, won't they get mad at me because of, read 3:19, please.
Sorry, I lost it. Oh, there it is. They answered, an Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. Oh, sorry, wrong 3:19. Sorry, guys.
Didn't mean anything to me.
Let me read the verse. I know that the king of Egypt will not let you leave unless he is forced to do so.
In other words, you just told me they won't let us go. Do I tell them Pharaoh won't let them go for a while? Read 11.
4:11.
4:11.
Adonai answered him, who gives a person a mouth? Who makes a person dumb or deaf? Keen-sighted or blind? Isn't it I, Adonai? I can't read what that says.
Sorry, I'm trying to read a message from somebody, from Tom. Aha. Yeah, but I'm guessing ha-ha. Tom says, I'm guessing he went ha-ha. Aha.
Yeah.
He said it. Okay. Okay, my sweetie just read 4:11. And when we read that, you might say Adonai gets a little frustrated at Moses.
Sounds that way.
For all you people who preach Adonai, the Lord God doesn't show those are very many emotions. Read 4:14, please.
At this, Adonai's anger blazed up against Moses. He said, don't you have a brother, Aaron the Levi? I know that he's a good speaker. In fact, here he is now, coming out to meet you, and he'll be happy to see you.
Now, why would Adonai get frustrated with Moses? Read 10, please.
Moses said to Adonai, oh Adonai, I'm a terrible speaker. I always have been, and I'm no better now, even after you've spoken to your servant. My words come slowly, my tongue moves slowly.
Did Moses stutter? Moses didn't have the confidence to speak to the children of Israel, let alone speak to Pharaoh. Even after speaking to you, Adonai, my tongue moves slow. Words don't come fast in my speech. I'm a terrible speaker. Send somebody else. Our question is, how many of us would or do the same thing as Moses? if we are to do anything that's out of the norm for us, our daily work, our daily walk, living in today's society. It does seem that Moses never thought of himself as something special. A great leader, no. A great speaker, no. Have confidence to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt, no. Adonai, I know you can do anything, so it might be to your best interest to pick someone else. We hear people state, we hear people state they would do anything for Adonai, yet stop trying to even find the truth in the scripture. Their desire is there, yet when they study, and their study shows the truth, and that truth doesn't line up with their religion, that's when they are more or less stating what Exodus 4:13 said. No, Adonai says, how about your brother Aaron, the Levi? Think about this. Would people be stating, I'm only a factory worker, an accountant at a CPA firm. Why don't you send that professor? He has all the education, speaks well, and people are drawn to him. He actually attracts people. He's a good speaker in front of people. Now, not like me. I'm not qualified to do this work for you at this certain time in history, Adonai. There are so many more qualified people than me, than the humble, unqualified, afraid to do anything, maybe for the reason he didn't want to hurt other people's chances by saying something wrong. Would he state then in Exodus 4:13, read 4:13.
But he replied, please, Lord, send someone else, anyone you want.
Please, Adonai, send someone else. When we read that, something interesting popped into our heads. My sweetie's going to read Acts 7:22.
So Moses was trained in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and became both a powerful speaker and a man of action.
It states in Acts 7:22, Moses was both a powerful speaker and a man of action.
What's those?
What happened? Now he's a slow speaker and afraid to approach Pharaoh himself. Was Moses really trying to get out of his assignment?
Possibly.
Kind of sounds a little bit like he was. Anyway, back to Exodus 4. Then something so interesting happened that when Adonai tells Moses, well, read Exodus 4:14.
At this, Adonai's anger blazed up against Moses. He said, don't you have a brother, Aaron the Levi? I know that he's a good speaker. In fact, here he is now, coming out to meet you, and he'll be happy to see you.
Another one of those places that kind of shoots the spot that when people say, God doesn't show emotions. What did he just do there? He got angry. It brings a few questions to mind. Moses is on Mount Mount Horeb, also known as Mount Sinai, so I wouldn't have been wrong if I'd have stated it that way, which is east of Midian, where his father-in-law met Moses, and west of Egypt, as far as I can figure out, about midway between both Egypt and Midian. And Adonai states, your brother is a good speaker. Wasn't Aaron, his brother, a slave in Egypt like the rest of the Hebrews? Mm-hmm. At least that's what I always thought.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
We haven't found where Aaron was one of the Hebrew leaders, so he received special privileges from the Egyptians to look for anything about 100 miles from Egypt. Did he also run away from the Egyptians? Interesting thought. But my honey just read, in fact, here he is now coming out to meet you. Do you think Aaron had to go to Pharaoh and say, would you mind if I don't show up for work this next month? See, I want to go find my brother. Now we know you're going. Now we know you're going. It was Now we know you're going. It was a God thing. Of course it was. But how many ever sat back while going over that part and wondered, how did he get so much time off his job?
Never thought about that.
All that time we've studied this, and I've never come up with that idea, thought, or
you should
wonder.
be still in Egypt with the rest of them.
Then we like how 14 ends. Read the end of 14, please.
And he'll be happy to see you.
He'll be happy to see you. Moses will be happy to see you. And maybe Aaron will be happy to see Moses. Now we have Shemot, or Exodus 4:15. But one needs to remember what Moses just told Adonai. Read 4:15, please.
You will speak to him and put the words in his mouth, and I will be with your mouth and his, teaching you both what to do.
Did you catch this? Here is this man who doesn't speak well, teaching his brother, who is a good speaker. It says, you put the words in his mouth. So Moses will be doing the one thing he stated he can't do to his brother. Was Adonai in this way encouraging Moses, and therefore building up his self-confidence in himself, teaching you both what to do? Kind of interesting way of looking at that also. How would you like Adonai actually speaking to you and say, I will be with you when you speak, and I will teach you what you need to do? Our question is, can you imagine being told that by Adonai himself? Then Exodus 4:16 would be rather frightening for the people like myself to think about. Read 4:16, please.
Thus he will be your spokesman to the people. In effect, for you, he will be a mouth, and for you, you will be like God.
And for him, you will be like God. To you, to Aaron, you, Moses, will be like God. That's interesting. People skim over that verse and remember what he will be, your mouth, but nobody we know has ever pointed out that Adonai stated to Moses, to Aaron, you'll be like God. That's putting a whole bunch of pressure on him.
Yeah, true.
Now my sweetie's going to read Shemot or Exodus 4:17.
Now take this staff in your hand, because you need it to perform the signs.
In other words, hey Moses, don't forget your stick. You're going to need it. Moses goes back to Jethro, his father-in-law, and asked to be let go to see if any of his kinsmen and are still alive. Jethro, his father-in-law, said, go in peace. Now my sweetie's going to read 18 and 19.
Moses left, returned to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said, I beg you to let me go and return to my kinsmen in Egypt to see if they are still alive. Jethro said to Moses, go in peace. Adonai said to Moses in Midian, go on back to Egypt, because all the men who wanted to kill you are dead.
And Adonai says, oh, by the way, everybody who wanted you dead are now dead. Can you imagine what Moses' first thought was? What his first thought was? Read 21.
Adonai said to Moses, when you get back to Egypt, make sure that you do before Pharaoh every one of the wonders I have enabled you to do. Nevertheless, I am going to make him hard-hearted, and he will refuse to let the people go.
I'm going there to get the children of Israel out, and you are going to have Pharaoh refuse. I'm not going to be it's not going to be an instant thing. It seemed that Adonai was teaching Moses all the way back to Egypt. He was teaching him stuff all the way. Like in 4:22, please.
Then you are to tell Pharaoh, Adonai says, Israel is my firstborn son.
Israel is my firstborn son. That's what Adonai said. If there ever was any question about Israel being God's chosen people, those 5 words should answer it. Israel is my firstborn son. 6 words.
5 words.
Israel is my firstborn.
Firstborn is 1 word.
Oh, she corrected me before when we went over that.
Yeah, firstborn is 1 word.
Okay, so I'm not that smart.
Yes, you are.
The teachings get more intense as far as we're concerned. My sweetie's going to read 23.
I have told you to let my son go in order to worship me, but you have refused to let him go. Well then, I will kill your firstborn son.
Adonai says, now listen to this, because it's going to be kind of confusing. Adonai says, you won't let my firstborn son go to worship me, therefore I will kill your firstborn son. Moses was told to say that to Pharaoh long time before he even talked to Aaron. It wasn't Pharaoh's statement like that movie says, which I always thought was pretty true. That movie says, Pharaoh says. Then something kind of strange happened. What's strange? The strange thing is people believe the movie and not what the scriptures said. But my sweetie's going to read 24 for one more strange thing.
At a lodging place on the way, Adonai met Moses and would have killed him.
They stopped at a resort on the way.
I'm sure it was.
And Adonai was going to kill him. Wait a minute, you just hired me. Adonai didn't, you just hire me? And for 1/2 of my life, I was raised as an Egyptian. I ran away to the Midianites, lived there. When you said do this, I have really no training on how to be a Hebrew. And now you're mad because I didn't know your rules for being a Jew? But it seems that his wife Zipporah knew, even though it didn't seem like she was too overpleased with the idea. Read 25, please.
Had not Zipporah taken a flint stone and cut off the foreskin of her son, she threw it at his feet, saying, "What a bloody bridegroom you are for me."
See why we said that we don't think she thought that was a real good idea? Why she got angry? To us it seems his wife was so angry that she had to do that. She had to do that to her son. She threw the foreskin at his feet. At least that's what you read, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we realize most translations state something like she touched him on his feet. Then state the part about bloody bridegroom he is to her. It seemed to us she went against what her faith followed, and she wasn't all that pleased about it. See, only the Hebrews circumcised, as far as we can tell. So she wasn't happy about doing that. But somehow she came up with the idea that that's what had to be done. Maybe she knew that Moses should have done that. But should he have? Now we are going to ask you to think about something that we have no real answer to. Read 25, please, again.
Had not Zipporah taken a flint stone and cut off the foreskin of her son, she threw it at his feet, saying, "What a bloody bridegroom you are for me."
Now read 4:20.
So Moses took his wife and sons, put them on a donkey, and started out for Egypt. Moses took God's staff in his hand.
Took his wife and sons in 4:20. But Zipporah circumcised her son in 4:25. Interesting. Very interesting. We know Moses had two sons, Gershom and Eleazar. And according to the writings in 4:20, they must have already had both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Then the only logical explanation would be she circumcised their firstborn son at that time. You remember what Adonai said about the children of Israel? Moses going to Adonai, firstborn son of Israel. So Zipporah circumcised their firstborn son. Interesting.
Extremely.
Now my sweetie's going to read Exodus 4:26.
But then God let Moses be. She added, "A bloody bridegroom because of the circumcision."
God let Moses be, although we still believe because her son would not have been really classified Hebrews because she wasn't. You might say she shows again she wasn't all that pleased with the circumcision.
Yep.
Here's a few things to think about. We're getting close to the end. Think about these things. Moses left the mountain went back to Jethro, his father-in-law, got the okay to leave, made it back to the mountain where, well, read 27.
Adonai said to Aaron, "Go into the desert to meet Moses." He went, met him at the mountain of God, and kissed him.
Sometime along there, then Aaron was told by Adonai, "Go meet your brother at my mountain." Moses says, "Look at what Adonai ordered me to perform." Off the brothers go. Aaron was really Moses' mouthpiece to the leader of Israel. I'm sorry, to the leaders of Israel. My sweetie's going to read 4:30.
Have to turn the page. Aaron said everything Adonai had told Moses, who then performed the signs for the people to see.
Here we go again. Stick, snake, stick again. Clean hand, leprosy, clean hand again. Water to blood. The first 3 words of 31. Read that.
The people believed.
They saw what he did with the stick, his hand, and the blood. And it says the people believed. They bowed their heads and worshipped. Adonai already told Moses, but we have our doubts that Moses told the leaders of the children of Israel. The road was going to get a lot more bumpy. We don't think Moses was prepared for what was going to happen either. We will see that Moses and Aaron were full of excitement when they finally were able to meet Pharaoh face to face. That was after they received their, what you might say, marching orders.
Yeah.
But you will have to say, or you might say, no, you should say, a short-lived excitement.
Yeah, that's true.
Next week, chapter 5.
We'll go on from there.
Now, some of the stuff we went over, I know I've never heard preached or heard of before, and I read it a number of times because I read it with the already knowing what it said, instead of allowing Adonai to actually lead and show us understanding. That's what we're asking people to do. Show Adonai that you want to study for understanding, not the brainwashing of the world, society, or a certain religion. God bless.
Have a good week, guys. Please like and share it.
Bye.
And have a great week.